right? The root of the word assessment is from Latin assetio, which means to sit beside. As teachers and students sit and work together, communication about ongoing learning and thinking naturally occurs. And while I try to never read from a slide, I could read that a million times, because I feel like this is what we try so hard to do at Further Prep. It's that sitting with the student, and it's the assessing with the student while we're talking through a problem, while we're working out something again and again, in all of the different ways. I feel like this really embodies how we try to teach them and how we try to assess their learning together. So we just thought that was a really beautiful way to start. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the purpose and why we do it, obviously.
Great, thanks, Jen. So the quote that she just talked about, I'm an IB workshop leader in addition to working here at Corporate Prep, and every time I talk about assessment with teachers all around the country, I always show them that quote, because I think it really helps to shift their perspective of what is the purpose of assessment. And for us as educators, and you as parents and your children, we want to assess to see where do we need to move forward, right? A lot of times I think we think of assessment as what we've learned up until this point, and then we take the tests on it, and then we move on. But really, assessment just gives us so much information about your children, where they're at that particular time, the things that they've mastered, and the things that they're still needing to know. So for us as their teachers, it's such valuable information because it allows us to plan for our instruction, right? We want to spend time making sure that we teach them things that they're still needing to know, rather than teaching them things that they've already learned in their morning class, right? So it's really more information for us as teachers to move them forward. It really helps us to improve our teaching overall, because it gives us a definitive and specific plan of where we need to go. Also, the way that we do it, we allow students to take risks in their assessments at a low stakes environment, so that when they are successful, it really builds their self-confidence and promotes that positivity that we are trying to instill in our school every single day. And then also it helps to inform, report where they're at that time. Okay. Our assessment philosophy here at Corporate Prep really is in line with that, and we know that it's really an integral part of teaching and learning. We use it to inform where your children are at and what we need to do to move forward. And the goal really is so much more than just learning knowledge and skills, but where is that conceptual understanding? Because research shows that they have the conceptual understanding, they're able to transfer that knowledge and skills not only across disciplines, but also out into the real world. And we're trying to create people here, right, that see that there's relevance in everything that they're doing. The middle years program is so aligned with our philosophy in all aspects of our school. And this right here is a picture of the program model for the PYP, or for the MRP, excuse me. And the most important thing I want you to notice is that in the center of it all is the learner. That's your child, right? So we're looking at building people, well-rounded individuals with everything that we do. And then all of the other things, the subjects, the service, all of that, it all surrounds your child. What can you do to educate the entire child? Within the MYP, your children go through 8 different subject areas that you're well aware of, and in each subject area, they're assessed on 4 different criteria. They will be assessed on those at least twice throughout the year, and they're listed here on this chart. So language and literature, they'll look at analyzing, organizing, producing text, and using language. And within each of those, there's a couple different objectives, about 3 or 4, depending on the criteria of what they're being assessed on. And then you can see what other subject areas as well. Alright, so our unit flow. So the way that we instruct your children You get placed on a team, then you have practice, lots of practices, right? So in the practices, the coaches are working on different drills, different skills. They have the kids do things over and over and over, so that repeated practice. And the coach is there to give feedback, but maybe not every swing of the bat are they going to give them feedback, right? Because we just want them to do it over and over and over again. So this may look like homework, or this might look like in-class practice. So here you can see in Toddle, for Spanish, they have garbanzo every week. So every week it'll be due on Sunday evening, and in the grade book you'll see a check. If it's in black bowls, that means it's been checked off. If it's kind of grayed out, you can see here the due date, September 15th, that's still upcoming. So look at the due date there. Also, in-class practice. So math every day has an exit ticket. It's the way that their curriculum is designed. They'll teach the lesson, the kids will do practice in class, and then they give them an exit ticket on their way out, 1 or 2, maybe 3 problems going over what they've learned that day. And the teachers assess it every day on a 3-point scale. So 3 points means they got it, they're great, they're good to go, and then a 2 and a 1. In the grade book, you'll see something like this. And then sometimes next to it, you might see a comment box that will be like a little speech bubble. And if that's there, they might leave a comment and say, you know, great job today, you're well on your way. Or it may be something like, can you come see me for coaching? Because this is the opportunity that I'm seeing that you need some reteaching, some relearning. So here's where I'm gonna pull you in and we're gonna work on it a little bit more. So just look for those things. Sure.
Where those comments would lie, like for the kids to see if there's something that they should be working towards. Do all of those, like how is that communicated to the students? Like,
So they'll get a notification on their end and you will too.
okay.
And the teachers are also responsible for saying to the child face to face,
Yes.
I need to grab you. You know, so really the comment is the record of the conversation and the communication do that it's happening.
Okay.
But it is the responsibility of the teacher to in person also tell that child.
Thank you.
I have a question. What is the process throughout the day? Maybe the kids have access to the same kind of question. You know, I know my son got something like at 1:35 on a Friday and missed it. How often are they in Toddle throughout the day?
So they're in Toddle within the classes. A lot of the things that they do in class, the teacher will have them pull up their learning engagements are in there, so they'll see that. But they also have 2 flex classes throughout the week. And one of the things that Ms. Brown and I do in the flex classes is the first thing you do is say, okay, open up Toddle. We want you to go through your notifications. We want you to look at your messages. We want you to look at the grade book, your assignments. Are you missing anything? Are there things that you still need to do? So those are kind of those checkpoints with us every week so that they can get an answer.
So, but they don't have it like all day, every day.
Well, yes, they have their laptop with them
Okay.
when they go. In the flex classes, you want to speak about this a little bit more, but in the flex classes, that's more of the formal. We're going through everything. And then within the individual classes, the teachers might say, they're not, okay, open up Toddle, I posted this, blah, 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 whatever that is, per subject.
And if you're getting something at 1:37 on a Friday, right? So I'm a teacher, I'm in my planning period, I'm grading my things, and I'm posting it, and I know on Monday, I'm gonna grab that child. You know, so it might also be something where you might be seeing it, but in my mind as a teacher, I'm getting it done. Maybe I'm gonna send an email over the weekend, maybe I'm gonna address it on Monday. But it is the responsibility of the teacher to make sure that they're in person talking.
So they're gonna contact the student. I didn't know because I got an email, a notification about it. Was it then my responsibility to talk to him about that and get that done?
No, it should always be the responsibility of the teacher.
Okay.
The first tier, right? The first tier. The second is the support from home. Is the, oh, by the way, I saw this in Toddle, did your teacher speak to you about this? It looks like you need to complete this or redo this.
Okay.
FYI.
And when you see those notifications, feel free to reach out to me, and I can be your contact person to then ask the teacher for more feedback. Okay, so anytime you see something and you have a question, you can reach out. Okay.
Are we going to use for all the subjects? Because I see the only subject that I got right now is Spanish.
Right.
So,
the only 2 subjects in mine as well.
or text every single time, that's gonna be a lot for everyone. And I know that there may be that 1% of people that really want every single one of those, but I think the other 99% are very happy knowing where they can access the information when they want it. So that's kind of what this is all about, is how you do that. And less of the announcements that are directly coming to you, like Spanish shouldn't have all of those. They actually should just be living in the Spanish class. So we're gonna get to that next.
But in grade school, they're supposed to see all the subjects that they're doing.
Yes, and if you need to, that's something we'll wait till the end, and we'll get the information of what you're seeing and what you're not, so we can try to fix it. Oh wait, back to.
Does this apply from 5th grade up, or is it only active at 5th grade and applying only to 6th grade?
No, so here's the thing, it is 5th grade. It does apply to 5th grade, it just looks differently right now. And thank you for that clarification, because I probably needed to say that from the very beginning. 5th grade, the challenge with 5th grade is that 5th grade is actually the last year of the primary years program, the PYP. And then we have the MYP and Toddle. These are two different programs in Toddle, and because we have this bridge year where they are in PYP, but many of the things that they're doing, like they're actually even bridging these two IB programs. So Ashley has had to work very directly with them to make sure that what you're seeing and what the teachers are needing to do is truly what the experience is. So 5th grade, we're still working out a few of the kinks.
Because I don't see any announcements at all in 5th grade, but I see other things.
Yes, so we're going to be working through that 6th, 7th, and 8th. From back to school night to now, we have had a huge growth and we're in a really good spot. In 5th grade, we're probably still going to need another week and a half to just iron out all of those things.
So our next section that we're talking about is going to be that formative assessment. So we have the diagnostic data, that's their tryouts. Then we have that in-class and home practice, so that would be kind of the practices that they have, right, from the sports standpoint. The next would be this formative assessment. So this is like if you've had the tryout, you've had lots of practice, okay, I think we're ready for a game, and we haven't had a game yet, so we're going to scrimmage, right? We're going to play against each other, we're going to play a game, but we're going to see how it goes in a low-stakes environment with the coach right there. So that's our formative assessment. So this may in Toddle look something like in language and literature, everybody has a worthy wise quiz, right? They have it every week. So they're studying their vocabulary, they do all those different activities. So this is something that they go, they take the quiz once a week. In Toddle, you'll see a percentage score because that's the way that worthy wise reports it. And also because we're an IB school, then we assess that using the IB criteria. So then you'll also see this little button here, this grid button, this is a rubric. So if you click on that, you can open it up to see what the rubric looks like, the descriptors underneath it, and then the score of where they fall. So in the MYP criteria, it's on a 0 through 8 point scale. So in terms of a 93, that would put this child at a 7, and the next one was an 86, so that put the child at a 5. And when you click on the rubric button, you can see the descriptors of why they scored that 6 or that 7 or that 8. Okay? So that will be in your grade book, and I'll show you. We're going to go through the app and do all that stuff. Okay? Right. Then, does anyone have any questions?
Well, let's read your question. So I think this is going to be, if you guys want to, this is a lot of conceptually different when it comes to the grading and the assessing and the information. This looks different than what it did when you guys were in school, right? When I was in school, the whole criterion base, the 1 to 8, all of that is different. And it's talking about those 4 objectives for each grade level, for each one of the subject areas. Now, each one of those objectives, so if it's language and lit and it's analyzing. Analyzing is the big umbrella that's over all of the state and national standards that we're still teaching. Okay, so this is kind of the curriculum piece. What we're going to do after this, because we want to make sure you guys understand the whole idea of the learning engagements and the class engagements that are the practice.
the formative assessments and the quizzes and the exit tickets that you'll see there are the formatives, the summatives, which are what are going to actually inform the final grade, which is what Ashley's going to talk about now. And then after this, what we're going to do is we're going to go through every single button on your parent app, on the family app, and what you should see with every single button. So we're just about a slide away. So I just want to make sure you guys are able to listen to this piece because this summative piece is really important.
Before you begin, I just want to say, rest assured that if your child gets below a certain amount, a certain number on that rubric, you will be contacted, okay? The teacher will reach out to you. So I just want you to feel secure knowing that you're not going to miss anything, okay? We'll keep you informed.
And formatives are something that children do have the opportunity to retake, and because our point is, are they mastering this material? So if they take a formative and we can see they're still needing to grow in that area, that's a sign that your child will probably hear from that teacher, I need to meet with you, we need to go over this, and we want them to retake it so that they can master the material. The next step is going to be the summative. So all throughout, teachers in their grade books and all of their learning experiences are tracking their progress and giving them this feedback. So if we're consistently seeing, 6s or 7s in every criteria, we know we're on the right path. If those numbers are inconsistent or lower than we would like to see, that's when that teacher, as the coach, will step in and say, okay, where are we at here? Here's what we need to do. Let's make a plan for moving forward. Okay, so it is during a time where it's a low-stakes environment and the child still has the opportunity to grow. Okay, because the first time you swing a bat, they're not going to be mastered at it, right? So they need to have opportunities to practice it over and over again, and this is their opportunity to do that. The final piece then, after all of that formative data is collected, they've had those opportunities to practice, now they're going to take it into a summative. So the summative is like a game thing, right? So we're going to another school, and we're playing a game. So this here is where they take all of those things that they learned, and they're applying it now to a new situation. So in Toddle, you'll see something like this. So this was also from an English class. Here she was doing a seminar, Socratic seminar that she was using to assess them on Frederick Douglass last year. In Toddle, you'll see it'll be tagged SE, that means summative assessment. So the summative grades are what will calculate into that final grade. Okay? Now on a summative, if the teacher has been tracking your child and they're consistently doing well and they get to a summative and for some reason that summative is way lower than where they've been the rest of the time, the teacher will say, this seems off, right? So we should see consistency between what we're seeing in class and practice in those formatives and the summatives. If for some reason it's different than that, then that's a time to have a conversation about what's going on and troubleshooting there.
I just had a question about the IB group. So you said that's an 8. Are there times where you need the highest grade to see as the class rounds? My daughter got 0 questions wrong, and she's only the highest grade gets a 7. So will there be times when that group changes?
A lot of times the 8 is considered kind of that above and beyond, right? So it would kind of be, if you're looking at a conversion scale, like over that 100%, there's extra credit or something like that. So really, if they're consistently getting 7s, they're right on track for the top of the range.
But like with the math class, when you get all the questions right, you get a 7. Could you have all 8? Is that what you're saying?
It depends on the complexity of the problems.
So here's the thing with IB. It's a 5-year, the middle years program is a 5-year program, right? So say you have your year 1 is 6th grade, year 5 is 10th grade. And the way that they give the rubrics to us, they only give us 3. They give us 1 for 6th grade for year 1. They give us 1 for year 3 and 8th grade. And then they give us 1 for year 5 and 10th grade. So what we need to do is we need to kind of look at this 8. So if I'm giving an above and beyond average, if I'm giving an above and beyond test to say a 5th grader or a 6th grader, and that test is graded, I'm using the year 3 rubric. So this is an 8th grade rubric, and I'm giving a 7th grade test. And I know that this test is a 7th grade level. that above and beyond 8 on my test, because it's still 7th grade material, the highest I may be able to give in that rubric is a 7, and they're still gonna get that 100 on the test, because I haven't given them the opportunity to demonstrate mastery above and beyond the grade level.
So then is the grade level seven?
The 7 and the 8, think about, if you want to step back, if you want to think traditionally, think of the 8 as like 110%. Think of it as above and beyond, like an 8 is that over 100 because I'm doing something that's above what this rubric is really kind of calculating. It's an above and beyond 110. Because I didn't give them the opportunity, they're going to have that 7, that's 100, it's going to transfer as 100, it's going to, a 7 and an 8 are almost the same in the way that 7 and 8 are both considered above and beyond that 8+ level. Does that help?
Yeah, okay, because she was like, the highest I get is a 7, so she had to see a rubric.
But if you look at the rubric, that 7-8 descriptor is pretty much the same. If there's no, the 7-8 descriptor says the same thing. It's just that difference between that above and beyond content.
Okay.
Yeah. It does get, the IB criterion-based stuff does get tricky. And truly, like, to really understand it, it could be a 2-day training, right? Like, that's what we're sending teachers to that right now.
So if all you see is the 7, and you don't see like 100 out of 100 or whatever that score is,
Yes.
then it's like, well, then.
And that's why they should see, you should see the hundreds.
Okay, I don't.
Okay, then we can look at that. Okay, we're gonna go through right now kind of what this might look like for the actual family app.
So in your family app, when you open it up, this is what you see. Right? There's lots of tiles on here, and the ones that we're going to talk about are these bullets in here. There's some of these on here that you're not going to be using much, if at all, and that is something that I am working with Toddle to say, our parents, this doesn't apply to them, so can we take that off? So it may look a little bit different in the coming weeks, but really for right now, what you need to be looking at is the assignments and deadlines tile, the announcements, the messaging, grade book, your notifications, I'll show you where that is in a second, and then classes, which is down here. Okay, so the first one here is assignments and deadlines. This is where you're going to want to go a lot. If you want to know what quizzes your children have coming up, tests, homework, things like that, it's all in assignments and deadlines. So when you click that, it'll give you a list like this, and it'll start with what's due first, and then move down in chronological order. So in red, if there's something that's due tomorrow or today, it'll show up in red, and then it'll give you the dates otherwise down there. Okay, so in here, you'll see a variety of things. SA means summative assessment, so that's summative, they'll be doing that in class. FA is formative assessment, that's also in class, so those are like those quizzes and things, okay? LE, that means learning engagement, so that might be an in-class activity, and it may be homework. If it's homework, it will be labeled with something like HW or homework or home learning, something like that. So I know some of us were challenged to see what's homework and what's in class. The homework in the title, it will be labeled that it's homework. If it's without a label of homework, it's something that they're doing in class.
Now, another just clarification with Toddle is that sometimes if you click on one of these assignments, it might say something like no submission due.
Yes.
That is only because maybe it's not directly linked to a submission that's going through Toddle. Which means, if you see it here, it is something that needs to be done, and you can ask your child. Ashley has instructed teachers that everything that's homework is going to say HW. So she asked everybody, we're noticing these things as we're growing. So yesterday she noticed, and she was like, wait, there are things on here that don't say HW. So for parents, we want to be really clear what's homework. So she's instructed all the teachers to now make sure it's HW. So if you click something that says HW, and it says no submission due, that's only because it doesn't need to be uploaded on Toddle. The assignment is still needing to be done.
The majority of what you're going to see is probably going to say no submission due. You're doing it in your math book, it's in Garbanzo, or it's they're reading out of their text, right? Only a few things are going to be actually submitted through Toddle, so if you do see that no submission needed, they still need to do it, it just means they're not putting it into Toddle. trying to make sure that announcements are few, so that when they do come out, you really do pay attention to them. Okay, next one is messaging. So messaging, on here, you have the capability of messaging the teacher, and you can, there's chats and there's channels. Chats would be like a one chat, channels would be like a group text. So there might be time, like you'll get something from the CAs, they're in this as well, so it's a group thing sent to all the 6th grade parents saying ice cream starts this day, you know, make sure that you sign your kid up or something like that.
And so the way that we're using messaging right now, because we've still been working through Toddle, getting it up and running, we've been asking teachers to pick up the phone and call, send an email, make sure we're covering all our bases. Ideally, where we would love to get is to be able to use Toddle for all of our messaging, so that if your teacher needs to send you any information, you can just not constantly be checking, but you can have times that throughout the day you're checking your Toddle, and you know if there's any information that needs to come to me from school, this is my one-stop shop to grab it, and this is where the information will be. But because we were having a couple little snafus, we've still been using multiple ways.
I was just going to ask messaging regarding academics, right? So thespians would be using.
So to be, one of the things that I ideally would love to get to, and we're not there yet, but these channels would be all, like you would have a thespian channel, you would have a robotics channel, you would have everyone going to Circle F New Branch channel, a Wolf Creek channel, so that everything Corbett Prep is in this one app. And how easy is that? And you will have all your information there. That is our goal.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet, but we're getting there. I would hope that by the second trimester, we're just flowing.
Actually, one of the students in Reflective Snack yesterday pointed out that she's not able to message her teacher directly. She has to message everyone.
So there's 2 tabs. There's chats and then there's channels. So if they're in channels,
Yeah,
that goes to a group of people. So she
Okay.
probably needs to switch it over to chat.
okay.
And that would be a single one.
All right,
Okay, on the messaging, sorry, go back. On messaging, if you do have a message, on the tile here, you'll see like a little red notification thing. There's something you need to check. Go ahead.
Just to be clear, do parents use this to send a message to the teacher as well?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. All right, next is the gradebook. So the gradebook is the next button down. When you click on the gradebook, you'll see all of their classes listed. Okay, you'll have to go into then each class. This one they went into, I clicked on science, and this is what opened up for science. So here's a lab that was done, and it gives the full description of what the learning engagement was. And then down here is that assessment tool that the teacher used. So this is the checklist here. If you click there, then you can see the evaluation. So for the week, you have to go into each subject. If you go on the web and you sign in through the browser on the web, you will be able to see the entire gradebook together. That feature is still needing to be on the app. So for right now, the way that they have it, you've got to go into each subject. But if you do want to see everything holistically, you can go into the web.
Are you missing a class on this grade book? No.
Okay, next, notifications. I know we've probably been getting a lot of notifications. By default, when you sign in, all notifications are turned on. You can turn those off. I wouldn't suggest turning everything off, but pick and choose what information you want to get. So when you click on the notifications in that upper right-hand corner, there's this little gear here. If you click on the gear, it gives you probably about 20 different options for notifications. Decide what you want to get, right? And if you're, every time a teacher posts something to the class flow, you don't need to know that, you can take it off.
And you can unclick that email piece, right? So you're not getting the emails, you're not getting the dings, and it's still showing up here. So you're still able to go in and click notifications and see all of the things, when you're done with work at 4 o'clock, instead of getting dinged all day long. So the information is still here, it's just being delivered in a way that's a little bit easier.
By default, it is set that you'll get an email You'll get a notification in the app, and you'll also get a push notification. That's a lot, right? So go ahead and feel free to pick and choose what works best for you.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I think I missed this. Is notification supposed to be a tile?
No, it's in the upper right-hand corner.
Messaging? Oh,
No,
it's
no,
the
no.
bell.
Yeah, the bell.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, classes. So on that main page, when you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see all of the classes listed, right? Then from there, you'll click on each class. It'll go in here, and it'll have all of the different upcoming assignments and deadlines for that particular class. You can click into each of these and see the full description that the teacher put in, what they're doing, what it's due. If there's a resource attached to it, you can open all of that up. Also, in the classes feature, it defaults to assignments down here. This next button over, it says portfolio. You may have been seeing things that your child was tagged in a portfolio post. If you click this here, you'll see highlights of what's going on in that class. So about once every 6 days, once a rotation, each subject area should be posting about once things that are happening in their classroom. And a lot of times there'll be pictures attached to it. So it's kind of nice. A lot of times in middle school we're without seeing that. So this is your opportunity to get a peek into the classroom and see what's happening. So there'll be, a description of what the learning experience is, and then some pictures there, and then your child will be tagged into it.
Yes.
So going back to the grade book, where can we see, I know now there are a little bit of time where it's now, so Google. But say halfway through the trimester, we want to see where they're at. Is there going to be a place where we can see the current grade average, the current grade, and we were able to see this?
So, because it is a little different too, because of all the formatives and the formatives aren't tracking the same way, it's kind of a holistic view. We've been playing something called progress reports for that reason. The challenge that the reason we didn't want to just roll out progress reports to start is because it's very limited. So you only would see kind of that one letter or whatever it might be. Like you have a chance to say, okay, in individuals in society, it's an A or it's a B or it's a C, but it doesn't give you all this other information. So we've been trying to play with the best way to set up a progress summary for maybe that mid-semester, trimester report. I think the best way, if you're looking for an overall idea, it's going to be the grade book and taking a look at where they are as we move forward. And the teachers, the teachers reaching out to you for anything, and then directly contacting them as we're still working through the progress report. In the next few weeks, we'll probably have something that we can just send out in the middle of the trimester and say this is where they are. We just wanted to make sure it was very clear of where to really go to get all the information. It's a catch-22, right? Because sometimes it's so much information and it's so cool, and also I just want to know where my kid is and I just want to see the overall average, and I don't need to see it all, and yet here it all is. So we're kind of trying to balance all of it, so we're looking at what the best progress report can be, and we'll get that out in the next few weeks, probably somewhere in the middle.
Quick question, how do you know, you look into the grade book and there's all these different grades, right? How do you know how things are weighted? If we're trying to figure out
So
the progress,
there is no weighting. That's the part, because the thing that's going to be part of that final grade are only the summatives.
Okay,
So the summatives are 100% of the grade.
okay.
So as we're going through and we're looking and we're noticing on this formative and this exit tickets, we have some ones and some twos, that you should already know all about that from your teacher, because your child is staying and working towards threes, and they're being retaught the whole time that they have those ones and twos. So when it comes to weighting, everything is those summatives.
So, how is all of this being explained to the kids? Because I have a son who believes in the straightest, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So he comes home with a 1 on an exit ticket. I'm already concerned because he can't fall behind because he's not gonna catch up. But his answer is, it doesn't matter because these grades don't count. He leaves, he goes to cross-country practice, leaves, goes to a pitching lesson, leaves, goes to baseball practice, home at 9:15, and his math needs to get done. He's like, Dad, who cares? It doesn't count anyways. So I think his understanding is nothing matters except these, so he doesn't give a dang, and I have to fight with him every day, say everything counts.
So especially our 8th graders. So our 8th graders have lived this. Our 8th graders lived this in 7th grade English last year. And our 7th graders lived this in 6th grade English last year. So they are aware of it. Now this is kind of like a conceptual big world problem, right? Because it's the effort I put in. So just like baseball, if Colt doesn't go to baseball and he doesn't take the swings and he gets up in front of it at the game, he's not going to perform that.
That's my mindset, but he doesn't understand.
Well,
Because he's gonna be an MLB baseball player with no problem.
and that's the conversation that's happening, but that's why that teacher calls you, right, and says, like, I need Colt to come in and work through this, and then it's that communication. If this is all really, it falls heavily on the teachers to follow up with the students when they have those ones. And to kind of be teaching them, because that first summit is gonna come. What happens is the natural consequence of the first summit it comes, he gets a 3 or 4, he gets a 70%, and then he realizes, oh, I probably really needed to go and meet with the teacher. Oh, that one did matter. So if that, in life, we either can learn as we go and we can listen, or sometimes with adolescents and teenagers, they need to learn on their own. And it has to be an experience that they feel in order to understand. So we hope to get in front of that, and if they're learning this on their own as they go in that first summative, that's what happens.
So my first question is, for the kids, are they prompted to write down their assignments, when they walk into class in their planners? Is there something on the board that they're meant to just know that they need to write down, or they?
So both. So all of our students have an agenda. And the teacher's job is to give them the homework on the whiteboard, wherever it is, either at the beginning of class or at the end of class. They are supposed to be writing down their homework. So that was like a 5th grade thing. Because we're still working with Toddle and we're still working out the kinks with 5th grade, those 5th grade teachers have been crazy every single day, making sure everything is in everyone's agenda, so they can go home and say, here's my agenda, here's everything I need to know. And 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers have the exact same assignment to make sure it's in the agenda as well. Toddle should be that backup, right? And because of the world we live in, many times it's the first thing we look at. Really, that agenda is going to be where most of the information always is too.
And my second question, my 6th grader has a class called Middle School in 8th grade. That's the answer to text, or is that supposed to be?
Middle school, that's our community page, so that's a class that every single middle schooler has. I'm not sure why it's in 8th grade.
It makes you default to.
Okay, so it's fine. Everyone has it, everyone needs it.
There's things that we do in advisory, links or things that everybody needs to have access to, and so it's just kind of a place to house things that apply to all of us.
So this was studied last year only in English, the vocabulary or formative and summative.
So
It was studied last year only in English.
this is our third, so we piloted this for 3 years. The first 2 years was through English, and then the second year was also, the first year was through English. The second year was through English and science, and then last year it was English, it was science, and then math jumped in towards the end of the year.
But starting in 6th grade. When it was studied, or was it studied?
No, throughout all the grade levels, especially for English.
This is the first year I heard my son mention formative versus summative.
It is something like we wanted to make sure before we rolled it out to everyone, and that we all are doing this, that it is what's best for kids, right? So we wanted the data, we wanted to hear the experience of all the different teachers, so we've been waiting. And now it is the first year that they may all be hearing the same information. And he did, I'm trying to think,
I didn't know that if it was a middle school thing or if it was a college.
if it's a what?
If it was a middle school thing or a toddler vocabulary.
No, formative and summative assessment is the research vocabulary for every educational assessment field. Like that's what every time you're assessing, if you're going to school to study education, talking about formative assessment or summative
So,
assessment.
not ID, just education.
It's just education in general.
First, are we going to be getting like from fifth grade more as the Thursday holders? My Thursday holder comes back at.
I'm not sure about that. I don't think so, but we can.
Right, until Toddle is up, I have no idea where anything is.
So, but you should be getting, anytime they have assessments, they should be reporting them to Toddle, right? That grade book should be up.
But it's hard to see what it is.
Okay.
And Spanish is like
Yeah, Spanish is.
Spanish is on. Spanish works and counts Toddle very well somehow. Nothing else.
Which is really funny because that's actually like the NYP course. And not the NYP. But that's kind of our whole struggle with the fifth grade right now, that NYP piece seems to be working well, and we're trying to get the PYP piece in. But we'll look, I'm doing this right now, so fifth grade.
It's like homework assignments.
Now, homework assignments, that's all agenda. So like every day, we should come home, we should open our agenda and be able to go through all of our homework. And then the homework, nothing for fifth grade is really assigned through Toddle, so they should have all the materials they need to do their homework in like a traditional homework setting.
Do we get it back? Yes, okay. Because we get it back. So like on Thursdays, right? We get a folder, Thursday folder. What's supposed to be in the Thursday folder?
So we have years ago, you did get all those things back in the Thursday folder. Last year, they did not do that. Everything's kind of through Canvas. So I think they're probably thinking everything's gonna be through Toddle, but in the meantime, we can have that stuff sent home in the Thursday folder. What I really want is the grades to be on top, right? So that you can see that. We're just working through those.
But even just saying this, right, we actually wrote down my
Yes.
right and wrong.
Yes.
And then I guess the second question is, unlike the MLB over here, I have the opposite. Do the information, sometimes matter or not? Right?
Well, they matter because if they don't do them and they don't learn the material, they're not gonna perform well on the summatives. Right? Like, so that's the point that we're trying, that's what this is all about. It's about teaching the kids that the effort matters. So yes, you can 100% say, no, it's not worth 15% of your grade, it doesn't matter. But it does matter, because if you don't do it, you still need to stay in power hour. Like, there's no way that you're getting away with not doing it. You still have to do it, you're here for power hour, you need to do all of your assignments. And then in terms of, is it going to be part of my grade? No, but it's part of my learning experience.
So then so I have the opposite. I have Mr. I need to do above and beyond. But now it's not. And I have like the struggle the other way around because it doesn't really matter. Because as the other people, it doesn't matter. So I just have to get the grade right. Like, oh, follow the instructions. What does it say? Read it and follow. He's like, well, why? If I have the right answer, it doesn't really matter. It's sort of like the other way, right? So he's looking at it saying it really doesn't matter if I take pictures because I see my other friends, right? So why am I putting in more effort at the end of the day if it's not going to make a difference?
Are you talking about completing the homework assignment or completing the homework assignment with quality?
Yes.
Complete. So that also is up to the teacher too, right? Is the teacher recognizing that this needs to be better and pulling them in? The requirements are the same for the teacher. And then maybe if this is a concern, I would definitely reach out to the teacher because we're still also in the grid in the first part of the school year, right? So we're getting to know the kids. So if we have a student who is doing what you're considering as mom, their bare minimum, it's really important that you mention that to the teachers so the teachers understand what this child's turning in, which maybe could be traditionally like a B level, is not their best.
Right.
And that you need to make sure that you know that my child is turning in this work, he can do better, he stays in power hour, and he redoes the work to quality. We're still looking for all of those things. What is power hour? Power hour is Miss Crone's favorite time of the day.
So, after school, we have power hour from 3 o'clock to 3:50. And I'll contact you if your child needs to stay and complete an assignment, redo an assignment for quality, meet with a teacher. So you'll be contacted and then you'll let me know if it's convenient for your child to stay that day, and what the dismissal plan will be. So whether you're picking up or they're gonna run out to soccer practice or volleyball practice at the end. We don't keep them for games, we let them go because they're part of the team, but on practice days, I do ask them to come for a little while, finish their work, do what they need to do, and then head out. So the idea that they're thinking it doesn't matter, they're still going to do the work, even though it doesn't have a grade on it, right? Everyone will do it. We are without zeros.
It's essential, I think it's a essential, right? So, I have my overachiever now saying, why am I?
Well, I think that's, Jen's right, that you should reach out to the teachers and let them know, that's happening.
And then there's something in the communication in the classroom that I would need to look into. Because there's never an assignment that should be turned in that's not getting assessed by a teacher. So even if you're not seeing an A+, like, you're still seeing feedback on the work the same as you always have. So the student, like if you have an overachiever who really loves and thrives for that check plus and that this is excellent, they should still be seeing that on their work. And if they're not, then that's something I need to address with the teachers. Because this is not a, oh no, we don't assess it, it doesn't matter, we're not giving feedback on it. Oh no, it's more important than ever that you're getting the feedback on these assignments when only those summatives matter.
But if we're not getting that back, I don't know.
Well,
That's what we
we
need.
need to fix that.
Yeah.
We need to fix that.
So the visual feedback on the paper is between the teacher and the student and the parent, but it's not gonna be on top. Like, it's just gonna be a lot of those are just yes or no completed, or 1 through 8 score, but the actual, like, yeah, handwritten, this is how they did, is gonna be on their actual paper.
Yes, and if that needs to start going home in Thursday folders, then we can start putting that in Thursday folders. For that, and it's the way, that's the way it's always been too, right? Like in middle school, and this is different because this is one of those bridgier things, where 5th grade, if we're still needing to send that stuff home, we can still completely send that stuff home. I spent years and years, grading 7th grade papers and putting all of the things in there, and that was between me and the kids, right? Because it's that other transition. So in 5th grade, I think we need to treat it a little bit differently because we're still in that bridge time.
A question about power homes. Who initiates it? The teacher, the student? Can the parent say, I'm noticing something?
All three.
Okay.
Generally the teacher, because they're looking to see that that formative needs to be better or needs to be completed. But anytime a student, I have students who come to Power Hour because they've got a really busy weekend coming up and they want to get ahead on their work, and that's perfectly fine. It's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and typically Friday, if I have people.
And location?
And the location is in the 6th grade community space, okay?
Someone else have a hand up?
I wanted to ask a question about the effort grade. I've noticed for some subjects, I think it's social studies, or maybe the communities called humanities. On some of the graded work that I've seen come back, like there is an icon that marks the effort grade.
That should not be there.
Okay, all right.
No, we'll talk to her. Because it's, so the whole idea of mastery, like we have our approaches to learning, which are our flex classes, where we're teaching the kids executive functioning. The idea of mastery grading is that that grade reflects the knowledge and the understanding of a student of that subject, which is what happens, right? Because so many, depending on the different schools you go to in the different places, grades are either inflated or deflated based on, oh sure, I did all of my homework, and because I did all of my homework, even though it was just a check, like that's the other piece, right? Many times in a traditional school, I'm doing the homework and I'm getting it checked off because I did it. Doesn't mean it was all right. It just means I did it.
Correct.
So 20% of my grade is an A+. And every single time that I take a test or a quiz, I'm getting a C or a D. But because I did my homework, and that's 20%, and because maybe I am a really great teammate, and that's 10%, now all of a sudden my grade in math is a B-, but really I know about a C- D level of math. So that's what we're trying to get away from, so that those grades are really reflecting the knowledge in the subject. So effort, and I'll talk to the teachers.
I think, I
say that while that should never be part of an assessment of an academic, part of the academic piece, another job of ours with this IB program are what we call those approaches to learning. So the way kids organize themselves, the way they communicate, the way they collaborate, and those things are assessed too. Not that go into a grade, but there should also be times where a teacher is standing up and saying, okay, here's the project, right? Like here is our class project, and this is our summative, and this is what we need to do. Now let's think about organization, right? Here is a rubric on how you could be developing, proficient, and exemplary. So here, let's look at these reflections and let's talk about what would make you exemplary in organizing this project. Great. Okay, let's make a checklist of all the things. Like that is what should be going on in the classrooms. And when those things are addressed, and when that is being done, and then your child is getting, tracked in one of those places, it doesn't have anything to do with the grade of their project, but that's the other way that we're working on teaching those executive functioning skills.
And so with that language that you're speaking about right now, would that also be the same language that's being addressed in each of the other classes?
100%.
So that if you are being spoken to, or it's a group project, not just individual, like let's say we have social studies or science, like that work then relates into English, right?
Yes.
And they know, okay, I need to get organized in this manner with my data, and then I need to apply this into my math and show my work at all times, even though I can do it in my head. Okay.
And that's why we're shifting. We've been in IB school for 16 years. This is not, but the way in which we've been adopting all of the different pieces and been really clear about it, we've been taking these baby steps. So all of these things is exactly because it is a shared vocabulary for every subject across the whole school.
A few questions about summative assessments. How many would you expect to see per trimester?
4 to 6 per trimester.
And will that be a different location on Toddle? Will it be in their?
It'll still be as an assignment, as in a grade book. It will say
SA.
something.
It'll say S on the little tile next to it, it'll say SA.
Okay, so that's how we know.
That's how we know
that
it's
is
summative, yeah.
So you said 4 to 6 per.
Per subject.
So would that be what we should already have some by now, or?
It depends. I know that 5th grade, if we're thinking of 5th grade specifically, 5th grade has been doing a lot of diagnostics, getting into groups and doing a lot of things. So I know their first summatives are probably going to be coming up the next week.
So what is portfolio as opposed to assignments?
Portfolio, think about portfolio as a Facebook feed. So truly, or well, think about it as a social media scroll. So the idea of a portfolio is to show off what's happening in the classroom. So that's when you're going to get pictures of field trips, pictures of things that are happening in the classroom, different learning engagements that are tagged so that we are kind of informing parents what's happening in the classroom, different than how your student is performing, or how your child is performing in the classroom.
It's highlights.
Oh, there's a question, someone wanted to know why it says that an assignment is overdue. And can you explain how when the teacher puts in the assignment, how do they know the due date? And does it mean if it's overdue, does it mean it wasn't turned in? Or,
Okay, so the due date will always be, if it's a homework assignment, the due date will be the day that it's due, not the day that it's assigned, the day that it's due. If something says that it's overdue, and these were some of the kinks that we were working out with teachers, when the teachers loaded the assignments, by default, it turns the submission on. Toddle thinks that it's waiting for the student to submit something into Toddle. And the majority of the things that your kids are doing are without needing to be turned into Toddle. So teachers they're getting better, but they have to turn that off. Because if they leave it on and the due date passes, Toddle is thinking the child didn't turn something in, so that's why it says it's overdue. Okay, so that should be going away. They should make sure that they're turning that off so that it's not waiting for something to be submitted.
And sometimes the other challenge with that is if a teacher, everything is due on Thursday, and I'm teaching straight through all day on Thursday, and I'm not getting to put in the marks of what was supposed to be turned in until maybe Friday, or maybe I have a busy day Friday and really I'm looking at like a crazy Monday day. If that's the case, it also could be the teacher. You should, if your child is needing to turn something in and it's overdue, that should be contacted. You should be contacted for that, right? So if you have a question, if there is something that comes up and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't checked off, this has no grade, it was due 4 days ago, please feel free to reach out to the teacher, shoot them a message and say, hey, you know, is my child still needing to do this? It's their job, and I would hope that they've contacted you if your child has an assignment that's 4 days late. So it could just be like a weird thing on the teacher side.
So under, if you scroll down to the bottom, where you click on the individual class, as well as assignments and deadlines, there's like a little number, it looks like a notification. And every time I feel like I don't know if those mean submissions.
So if not submitted, so if it's not, and it shows not submitted, so see, this is one of those assignments where the teacher needed to turn off.
Okay.
Because if you look, it says it's not submitted, yet the teacher evaluation has been completed.
Okay. So then what are the numbers?
So I think it means it's that if it's telling you it's not submitted, and then when it's evaluated. So when you have this little notification of telling you there's 2 messages about this assignment for you.
Thank you.
Yes. We have report cards, and they're very traditional, and they will have their grades. And because that is the other way we need to speak to the high schools, so you will get those too. Yes. We appreciate you guys as this is the first year that we're going full Toddle with all of the grading and we're shifting. And we truly believe it's because it's what's best for the kids and what's helping to create those habits in them that they can take to high school and be really successful. We know that there are lots of ups and downs, right, that we are going to kind of experience together this year as we're working through the best way to make sure we're communicating this information. So we thank you so much for your patience and your input, and that you're seeing these little things that you're sharing them with us so we can fix them as we go. So thank you guys very much.